Oh, I'm live. Cool. So here we are, Friday afternoon. They've sent the email out, so we'll give it a couple of minutes for me to organize my show and tell here. We're going to do some of that today. Yeah, this has been a week. They all seem to be weeks recently. Hey, Iris. And Phoenix anew. I don't think I've seen you before. So today I'm going to do a lot of show and tell because I acquired some new yarn. Shouldn't have done it, but I did. And some great vintage buttons. And Iris, I will show this. This is what I worked on when Iris and I had a little crafternoon last week. And so let's see, where will I start? Hey, Anne-Marie. Just because I completely seem to keep spacing it out. I have an article in a magazine called A Needle Pulling Thread, and it's their 20th anniversary. And so everything in it is about 20. And so I gave them a list of 20 things you might be surprised about fit. And I may do a little something more with that article because you have to buy the magazine. But that was kind of exciting. That came from H&H. And I think they're going to have me write something every issue around fit. So a needle pulling thread started as a sewing. Yarn Genie's Crochet Cash. I have seen you wear on Instagram. Or is it Substack? No, Blue Sky. So it was, the magazine started out, I think, around sewing, maybe quilting, and then it's evolved to include other needle crafts, and they've got a couple of online blogs. I should write more of that and put it into my Substack. So, believe it or not, this sample arrived yesterday. It was completed in mid-May and put in the mail to me from England, where the sample knitter knit. I cannot tell you how much it cost me to ship to her and back. And something was wrong with the label that she used to ship back, which I created, so I'm at fault. And it went back to her. And I think it was July 15th, it finally got sent back to me. And it arrived yesterday, so about a month later. But she did it using this single ply and some silk. It's not called Silk Cloud. Maybe it was from Shibui, silk and mohair. And this was just stuff I had in my stash. And she'd never done a lot of the things in the pattern. So she had a good time. She was a great sample knitter. I would love to use her again, but the shipping just fucking killed me. So I am going to turn my camera downward So hold on a minute so I can show you my samples better, because you don't really need my face in there. And I'm going to turn the camera around. There's my desk. I always do this at my standing desk. And so where's that card? So this is the gal I bought yarn from. And I've been in a bit of a funk lately. And so I went to Flock and Fiber. And yes, one yarn vendor always brings a couple of sheep. They are so adorable, but I forgot to take pictures. And Gwen Aaron has joined, again, a name I'm not familiar with. So I walked the entire floor just to get a sense of what was there. And after I'd gotten finished with walking, I kind of went, okay, so I'm going to go back to the button lady and I'm going to go buy yarn from that gal who had the really lovely soft palette. So that's what I did. And this greenish, whatever it is called, it's kind of lime, but so I got it in, this is baby alpaca silk cashmere. And, the color is called Mojito. And then this one is alpaca, merino, and silk. I was thinking I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I realized I have a perfect project for it. So that will get knitted up into a sample. And yeah, it's all really pretty. I just adored her palette, which was really soft, but not like pale. It was just soft. So then I picked up this, which is called Queensbridge. So the mohair is called August, and the other yarn is called Solo. And she is in New Jersey, in Jersey City, which is where my husband was born. And it's KEIRAWIGGINS.com. You can go to her website and then probably connect to her on social media. So this is Blueface Lice. Is it Leicester? 40% Shetland and 20% alpaca. And I'm really liking kind of going back to non-superwash. But this one, it's just really yummy, the color differences. So I have no idea what I'll do with it. But it had to come home with me. And then when I'm wanting to demonstrate something, I never have anything bigger than like worsted. And even worsted is hard for me to find. So sometimes it's better, when you're showing something, to use a much bigger yarn and needles. So I think this is 100% Shetland. It's probably too rough for me it's not rough, but Shetland wool and my skin tend to not be copacetic. So then before I went to buy the yarn, let me just put that over here. I bought buttons. I think I want to move something white underneath here. And I get these so these are vintage buttons. As some of you know, I have kind of a thing for vintage buttons. And I really liked how she mixed and matched it, but I'm thinking that whatever happens, these two must be joined. And then these are not vintage, but they're glass. And I love that teal color and the pink. They're a little irregular, which I also really like. And these are painted leather. It says they're vintage. They were only $4. I should have bought two. Um, but I'm loving that purple, that mauve. And I grabbed this one. Oh, the gal is called Department of Work and good goods that matter. But she said she only sells at shows. So this is vintage celluloid, and I just couldn't resist it. It's a little banged up, but that's okay. Again, kind of staying with that mauve color. This does not say that they're vintage, but they're glass, so I'm guessing that they must be. And the style of shank is definitely not something that we see a lot of anymore. And these, same thing, same type of button. So she stitches her buttons on, usually they use little wire twisties, they being anybody. Again, I don't know that these are vintage. They're handmade and signed, apparently. But again, I loved the mix of the buttons, and those will make me happy. These just seemed like great neutrals. Again, this one's a little different than these two. I never mind that. They're vintage. Her prices were really good. So if you've never bought vintage buttons, they can be really extremely pricey. Another combo, and it says vintage glass and metal. I've seen this kind of curled metal in other vintage buttons. I would say probably from the 30s or the 40s. And these jet buttons used to be extremely common, but they're usually much more expensive than that. These I'm actually not quite as wild about now that I got them home in the light of the convention center. They looked like they would go with that, and you could do a really cool blending of them. And this one, kind of not usually what I usually buy, and I'm pretty sure these are vintage. Yeah, just having that little brass and yeah, I don't know what this is, some sort of paste or something. And then my final button was just this big black button. And so I'll probably use it to make a collage, because that size is pretty cool. So then let's get back to my button collage here. So I've made a project using these two yarns. So mostly it's this golden, it's recycled cashmere, that's right, that Jamie gave me. And then this is, I think it's yak, got from Rewa fibers, and like several years ago. And so I'd wrapped, just trying to figure out what it was I wrapped. So I have these rings that I got in a sale bin at Britex several years ago. I think I wrapped one of those. And then I wanted to add these two beads, the big green beads. And I'd found this little packet of, which I've now dropped one, beads that I must have ordered at some point. And when I order beads, I never have any idea. This says 5 millimeter. I have no idea what that means. So it's always tricky whether I can use the holes or not. So this one I used some linen thread, and I was working on this yesterday, waiting for Mitch to finish up his cataract surgery. So these are just like little blobs of beads, and I've knotted some yarn around them. And this is actually a button, just a random button that was in my drawer. And I put these beads over, and then I wanted to put some of the gold in. I think I could have done a nicer job, but I'll steam it a little bit and poke at that, pull it out. It looks like I could do a couple more wraps. I didn't have any scissors with me, so I kind of had to go with what I had, but I'm pretty pleased with this. And I made this so that these pieces are more tied down, but this one will move a little bit. So I just need to finish this up and put a pin on the back. And the piece may or may not be nearby. Doesn't have an open stitch, so I think I'll have to use a pin for it, but happy to see that move on a little bit. I'm trying to be very rigorous about putting everything back in my little containers. And you could also put that with that. You can see I've got like a decided color thing going on. So those were kind of the things from last weekend and what I worked on this week. Mitch had his second cataract surgery, which was highly successful, although boy, did they dope him up. And he's so funny. I can turn this back to look at me. Let's see. There I am. And he's such a control freak, which is nothing new to me after all these years, but I'm often surprised at how it manifests itself. So I may have told the story about how he directed me how to back up the car so he could get in last time, but he was a little dopier this time. He had to actually hold on to a car while he waited for me to back up the car. And then he kept dozing off. But the surgery was done earlier in the day. And so, first of all, yay, I didn't have to sit in traffic. And then we'd figured out they'd have just completely rechanged this interchange. And so we got off the correct way this time and had to sit through the stoplight 3 times. This is all to improve traffic. Well, I think that if you have to sit through a traffic light 3 times, they didn't do a very good job. But that's just me. And so we're sitting there, and I mean, he keeps dozing off. And then he wakes up and he said, "I'd like a salt bagel." He said, "Let's stop at the bagel place." on 23rd, which was the street I was trying to turn onto. And it was an excellent idea. And they had some pre-made sandwiches. So I got him a sandwich. I thought a salt bagel sounded delicious. I haven't had one of those in years. And so I bought some salt bagels, and he hasn't eaten bread in a month and a half because of his digestive problems. He ate a bagel, he ate his sandwich, and ate the other bagel. So that was good. And I had bought some homemade juice bars. He loves juice bars. At the farmer's market on Tuesday, and he had saved 2 of them to have when he got done. And then eventually I went downstairs. I've been just really, really tired. And so I went downstairs and said, woke him up to say, do you want to come upstairs and take a nap with me? Which he did. We had a wonderful nap, and one of those naps where you have to make yourself get up because you know you could probably sleep through, but knowing me, I would wake up at 2 a.m. and then my sleep would be screwed up for the rest of the week. So we got up after an hour and a half, I think, and what did we have for dinner last night? We got takeout on Wednesday. Oh, he just had ice cream for dinner, and I resurrected some pasta from the freezer. So for those of you who are new, Mitch has had a digestive issue, and for like 18 months. This is not just having reflux or something. It's not reflux. Been down that route. And the doctors, surprisingly, do not seem to be that interested if somebody's walking by with something interesting in figuring it out. And he's lost 30 pounds. And, you know, from the back, he just looks like he's been through massive chemotherapy or something. He's so thin. And so I can't remember. Maybe it was over the weekend. Yeah, maybe it was the end of last week. He got like a heat rash. It's been hot here. And so can't get in to see anybody else, but he was able to get in to see the dermatologist. And he has psoriasis, which it turns out it's an autoimmune thing. And you know, he's been trying to get in to see an endocrinologist. And he and Dr. Google think he may have hyperthyroid. Either that or it's his pancreas. We've kind of ruled out everything else. But he was having these horrible, he would just belt all the time. And it was uncomfortable. So he put himself on a SIBO diet, and SIBO is small intestine, bacterial overgrowth, sorry. So it's SIBO, and basically it's an elimination diet. You get down, so we're eating like meat and potatoes, a lot of rice. So eating very bland food. And then, you know, after you've done that for a month, then you get to start adding things back in. So, no sugar at all, no grains, no wheat. And he found that milk was upsetting him, so we did lactose-free milk. And he said that he may well have had SIBO because that has been completely solved. And we're starting to reintroduce things. into his food. So we ordered out Vietnamese food on Wednesday. Oh, it was so delicious to just eat something with a lot of flavor. And, but we don't eat that much anymore. And I'd ordered quite a bit of food because I wasn't sure what he'd be able to eat. And so we have leftovers for tonight. We have some prawn curry and some leftover drunken chicken. So I'm really looking forward to that. I love to cook and I love to eat. This has just almost fucking killed me. If it weren't cherry season, I probably would have lost my mind. At least I've been able to eat lots of cherries, which he can't eat. So anyhow, that brings you up to date with the illness thing here. So he's got psoriasis, and today it broke out on his hands. Oh God, it's just. So I think he needs to go back to the dermatologist, and I'm not sure that what she gave him is sufficient. But then there's maybe nothing that's going to work. And we still can't get, he's got an appointment for like late November to get into the endocrinologist. So he could die before then. I have suggested that he go outside of the practice group and just find somebody who will take him. Because I'm pretty sick of it. And although we've been assured that he doesn't have at least colon cancer or stomach cancer, and apparently, doesn't have any of the stuff in his blood that would indicate that he might have cancer. So that's positive. So I want to talk a little bit you may or may not have noticed that I resurrected the obstacles of knitting on my blog. So that was a series of posts that I wrote. I think there's a dozen of them that I wrote in 2015. And I'm always so struck. I mean, I don't know how anybody knits anything, quite honestly. Patterns seem to me to be just like hard to follow. There's, always something that you need to know that isn't referenced in the pattern, but really it should have been referenced in the pattern. So I was knitting projects from Sizzling Stitches, which was just 5 patterns for things to wear on your head. So this was number 4. This was called the pollinator. I got bored on the bottom tier, and so I added short rows so that it's got a flounce instead of being straight. And I guess I could make I-cord to go through there. I forgot about that. But what happens whenever I work from somebody else's patterns is I'm always just like, why aren't you telling me the things I need to know? So then I got back. I went, well, let me look back at what I wrote in 2015. And so I made one of the first post is now available outside the paywall on Substack. And I'm also, I always have to acknowledge that my brain processes information often improperly. Sometimes just I see something that other people don't see, or I need something that other people don't see. So, it's partly me, but what me makes me conscious of is that patterns are really only accessible to people who can follow a standard pattern. And then if you're not one of those people, it becomes something that you have difficulty with. So evidence number 2 was I decided I would reteach myself how to crochet. So this was the 3rd pattern in the book, and I did a new one. Who knows where I put it? So I did not I followed the directions, but I got confused between half double crochet and crochet. So this is using half double crochet. So I made a new one, which I'm now looking for, with where I did the stitch right. And I don't think this is bad for somebody. There's one place, there's a big mistake right there. And I was just like, screw it. I am not pulling it back. Because it had taken me like 5 days to grasp all of this stuff. I rewrote the pattern in a way that made sense to me. And it just, and when I asked the designer for help, don't want to be mean, but she was kind of like, well, it's really easy. Well, it's really easy if you know. I hadn't crocheted since I was 14. I'm 70. So, and the reason I don't crochet is because I can't stand the directions. So I just wrote them in a different format. Worked great for me, worked great for another gal who was knitting along with me. And she knows how to crochet and couldn't figure out the directions. Looking around to see if there's 2 others. So this was the first pattern, and it's like a kerchief that you wear. So first thing, and as I'm saying this, I'm like, well, you're kind of an asshole, Jill. But so I didn't want to work it in worsted because all I had was wool. And I really wanted to work it in this yarn, which is wool and linen. And so I just thought, well, I'll just redo the gauge. That's no problem for me, and redo it. There's quite a taper, and I didn't follow my own instructions. So it's probably a little longer than it should be. And I added in like extra color. But it's brioche, and there's a huge mistake. I have to put a bead or something over that. Can you see that? Just totally didn't get. I probably fixed a mistake and missed that. So I'd never done brioche before. Had no desire to do brioche, but thought, well, it's small, I'll do this one thing. Brioche is not that hard once you figure it out. But again, the directions gave me some trouble. And I had to explain many things to Stephanie, who also perceives information a little differently. But we both got through it. She loves it and loved the pattern once we got enough information that she could easily follow it. And then this was my last one. It's called Napoli Head Wrap. It's named after Naples. So it's like I was watching a movie. See that? With Sophia Loren, a comedy, and all the ladies in this poor neighborhood in Napoli. And then I put little beads on it because it seemed like it was kind of not that interesting. But then last night I was working on it. So in the pattern, there's for just working in the headband. And here you can see that it increases much more on one side than on the other. So you start with the I-cord, and then you've got to increase out to the full width of the headband. And so for the headband by itself, it increases evenly. And the instructions are incorrect. So there will be probably on Monday an update to that. There's another little bead. So neither my tech editor nor I caught that. I did the increases properly, but I just didn't. I suspect what happened was I copied the instructions and then just forgot to change it. So all of these things, like I introduced something inadvertent that it's incorrect. And, everybody gasped when I submitted my patterns for this collection because Porto, which I haven't shown you, is just a head wrap. I have a bag of beads on this, but I think it's really cute. So if you had long hair, you could wrap this around your long hair, or you can tie it up on top. Or you could tie it around a ponytail. It takes like 20 grams of yarn. It's really easy. But I say that it's not easy. It's got short rows in it. It's got eyelets. It's got fisherman's rib, which is like the poor cousin of brioche. It's got a flexible cast on and a flexible bind off. And yeah, so it may be easy for some people, but it may not be easy for somebody else. And so that's one of the things that I'm always struggling with, because I have learned that like everything is easy for me because I've been doing this for so long. But if it's not said in the proper way, I can't figure it out. So I've been trying to teach myself to be better at hand stitching. So I've been trying to work stitches from Alabama Shannon's book called The Geometry of Hand Stitching, I think, which reminds me, I've got a book I want to talk about. And I can't follow the directions at all. So I'm going to work on that tonight. No martini tonight because Mitch is in post-surgery recovery and he follows everything to the letter. And although they cleared him, he doesn't feel that he can drink until it's no longer a danger that he would rub his eyes. Man has so many rules. So anyhow, I think what I'm going to do, because I've had some success by just using random hand stitching, embroidery stitching directions online. I think I'm going to try that. This fancy book is not working for me at all. So I finished this book. It's called Liberty, Equality, and Fashion. And it's incredibly interesting. It's only 250 pages long, and then there's some notes. But there are, whoa, sorry about that. Moved over my camera. Okay, so there are great color plates because of a lot of the evidence of this fashion revolution was because it was women, was just in the art of the time. So the fashion plates like this were in magazines that were produced. And then people have their portraits painted. Quite a lot, it turns out. And So it's really a great book. I learned so much. I'd read a book by Hilary Mantel, which covered the period of the French Revolution through or up to Napoleon, I think. And so the three characters in the book are Josephine Bonaparte. We've all heard of her. Theresia Tallien and Juliette Recamier. And so these three women basically created this new fashion, which was definitely adopted by the upper classes. And they were all kind of at different socioeconomic tiers. But you can imagine in 1793 to like 1807, I think it was, women had been wearing these. In fact, in France, it was law that, if you attended the court, you had to wear these certain types of gowns. And they were very heavy and, multi-layers. And so the opportunity to unloose yourself from all of that fabric was rapidly adopted and carried on through the really post-revolution, and through the director period, I think it was called. And it was radical. And then as soon as kind of the whole Napoleon thing burned out, women were put back into heavy dressing again. So then, and this will be my last thing, we were watching a movie last Friday on the Criterion Channel, and it was Penelope Cruz. So it was Spanish, and it was set in that middle period following the revolution. And so it was 1797. And so they were wearing the Empire style dresses, but it was not the lightweight muslin that the French were wearing. It was heavy Spanish brocades and tapestries, but it was just really fascinating. And they continued to wear the corset underneath, I think so they could pop their boobs out. But I just felt like those two things coming together was very cool. And probably I wouldn't have enjoyed the movie so much had I not had this particular fashion information. So now I've just started a book called Worn, Worn, and written by a gal who grew up on Martha's Vineyard. And so is American. So this is mostly American history, and really fascinating, really enjoying it. And I'm loving that women are getting these books on fashion published, because fashion is, in fact, a reflection of our society. And, whether you think it's frivolous or something else, it is always a reflection of our times. Yes. What do you want? You're going to be on camera. It's okay. This is Mitch. We done it. I'm online. I'm doing my live. Could you turn them up or turn? He never wants to be on the camera. What do you want? It's about my medical condition. Okay, I gotta go. Bye.